banana wireless, whatever. It's gonna work. So this guy, if you pick it up, you drop your SIM in, and you should be good to go. Good to go indeed. And it's gonna pretty much work on any carrier, like I said, and that's especially important here in the States, because then that means that I could take this guy to any carrier and just pick up a SIM and be good to go. So in terms of carrier support, it's right up there with the Moto X Pure Edition. It's going to work on any carrier, anybody. So up next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the Bluetooth in this guy. Now Bluetooth wise, this guy has Bluetooth 4.2 in it, and I have to tell you guys, I've had no issues with the Bluetooth, no issues whatsoever. And you can see I've actually connected it up to a ton of Bluetooth devices and also some other smartphones, and I had no issues with the Bluetooth, no issues whatsoever. So in terms of Bluetooth, if you are like myself and you got a ton of Bluetooth devices, it's gonna work, no issues. Alright? Next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the GPS in this guy. And again, guys, in terms of the GPS, I have to say that this guy works almost perfectly. I had no issues with the GPS. It actually locked on within seconds. Turn-by-turn navigation was pretty much flawless. Didn't have any issues. And you guys know the GPS in devices is very important to me, especially because your boy is not too directional savvy. So I tend to lean on the GPS a lot when I don't know where I'm going. So if you are like myself and not too directionally friendly, and you rely heavily on your GPS in your devices, I have to say you're going to have a wonderful experience with the GPS in this device. So the GPS is pretty good. Next, let's keep it moving. Now let's talk about the overall call quality and speaker call quality in this guy. Now I'm very happy to report it's been a very busy few weeks. So I've taken a ton of calls on this guy, and I'm happy to report that I've had no issues with the call quality in the built-in receiver, and no issues with the call quality on the speakerphone. It was actually very good, and it was a pleasure to use. Now, one gripe though is that I do wish the speaker calls got louder. Maybe I'm getting old, maybe I'm going deaf, I don't know. I tend to have this issue with a lot of phones, and this one was no exception. But overall, taking calls using the built-in receiver was actually really, really good. And a side note, the Wi-Fi calling in this device was really, really good as well as the LTE calling, and the voice over LTE was also very, very good on this device as well. So in terms of call quality and speaker call quality, you shouldn't have any issues. Up next, let's talk about the cameras and the camera interface. Now, jumping right in, out the box, when you come into the cameras, this is pretty much what you get greeted with. So you got your HDR options up there, you got your flash options, you got your timer, you got your camera option down here, and then you click on that. That's how you get to your modes. So you see you got your video recording mode, you got your panorama mode, you got your slow motion mode, and then you got your professional mode, which lets you tweak just about everything. It's actually really, really cool to see that. Then you can switch between your front and rear facing camera by tapping this option here. How you doing, guys? Or you can do the little quick twist of the wrist gesture to do the same thing. So that's pretty cool. And again, the rear firing camera on this guy is a 12 megapixel dual focus camera. And so what does that mean? That means that it should actually focus very, very quickly. And again, I did have some issues with the focusing on this guy, but it is what it is. Other things, so you swipe in here to get to your other settings. So you can see it is indeed a 12 megapixel camera there for you guys. Now, if you want to shoot in that widescreen 16:9 format, you're going to have to take a megapixel hit and jump down to 9.1 megapixels. But it is what it is. Y'all pretty much know that's how it goes these days. Now, if you want to take full advantage of all 12 megapixels, you're going to have to shoot in that 4:3 letterboxy aspect ratio. What's also nice is you do have the option to do your tap anywhere to shoot. So it makes it kind of like the Moto X Pure Edition. Or you can also have your shutter button. So maybe if you don't like that, you want the traditional shutter button, you could do that as well. So they gave you a ton of options there. Now I like to tap and shoot because that's what I'm used to coming from the Moto X Pure Edition. So that's how I set it up. Now in terms of video, you can record 4K at 30 frames a second, 1080p 60, 1080p 30, 720p 30, and 480p 30. Okay? You can also do slow motion at 720p at 120 frames. Let me see if I can get that to focus. Sorry, it's kind of blurred out, but you can see that right there. So pretty much with the rear facing camera, you got a ton of options here. Now, jumping to the front, it's pretty much similar. But with the front, you got your beauty modes as well as your HDR and your flash controls and your timer as well. Again, you also have, which I was very happy to see, you have your slow motion. You can take your videos, but you also have a professional mode with the front-facing camera as well. You don't see that on too many phones these days, especially in this price range, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So it was nice to see that not only do you have a pro mode on the rear camera, but you have a pro mode on the front-facing camera as well. And keep in mind, guys, the front-facing camera is 5 megapixels, and you can again set it up to have your shutter button, or you could do your tap anywhere to shoot. Again, if you want to shoot in that 16:9, you're going to take a megapixel hit there. But to take full advantage of all 5 megapixels, you're going to be stuck shooting in that 4:3 aspect ratio. And also, guys, you can shoot with the front-facing camera at least. You don't have any 4K, but you got some nice crispy 1080p 30, 720p 30, and 480p 30. And let me show you right there. You do have slow motion video recording. Let me get that to focus some. But it is 480p resolution at 120 frames. So it's not as good as the rear facing camera, but it's good to see that the front facing camera is very feature packed as well. And you do have flash on the front facing camera via the screen. So it uses the screen to illuminate the scene. And it works. It's not the best, but it works. And overall, I think that pretty much covers the camera and the camera interfaces. Now, that being said, you guys are probably wondering how I feel about the cameras on the Moto G5 Plus. Now, coming from a Moto X Pure Edition and hearing how heavily everybody enjoyed the cameras, you know, everybody that I heard these cameras were good, and I had some people that were really looking forward to this review of this device because they really wanted to know my honest and straightforward opinions of the cameras. And I gotta tell you guys, I had really high expectations for the cameras on this device because I was actually looking for something that was gonna replace the cameras on my Moto X Pure Edition, and the fact that I was probably going to get that at a better price, I was really stoked. Now, that being said, I was slightly disappointed by these cameras. In some areas, they could have did much better. In particular, when it comes to the video recording, in particular the 4K video recording, the max limit that you can record with these cameras with the rear camera at 4K is 10 minutes and 38 seconds. Now, again, y'all know that's similar to the Moto X Pure Edition, but you can actually work around that on the Moto X Pure Edition by installing an app that I highly recommend, which is called Open Camera, which is available on the Google Play Store. And that's how I got rid of that 10-minute limit on my Moto X Pure Edition. Now, I'm very sad to report that you cannot do that on the Moto G5 Plus. 10 minutes and 38 seconds is all you get here. And that y'all can see that in practical usage, because I did use this camera to record my Bluetooth T3 headphone review. And again, I do apologize that that was chopped up into so many parts, but y'all can see, really see the quality of this camera if you watch that review. And I was very sad to see that I couldn't get that 10-minute limit removed. But other than that, in terms of taking pictures and, you know, regular 1080p recording, I have to say that this camera is good. Now, it's not the best. It could be better, but for what it is, it's good. It's good. And if I do need to shoot a quick video or something, and this is the only camera I got on hand, I'm not going to worry about it. Not going to worry about it at all, because I know the photos or the video is going to turn out good. Good. Not the best, but good. So, that's pretty much how I feel about the cameras, the camera interface, and the overall video and photo quality of this phone right here. Again, if you want to see photo samples, please follow me on Google+. If you want to see video samples, please check out my video samples playlist, which is available on YouTube. Alright? Good. So next, let's keep it moving. Now, this is usually the section where I give you guys a demonstration on the gaming, but in the interest of speed, I'm just going to tell you guys. This guy has, again, the Adreno 506 GPU and the Snapdragon 625 processor in it, and it pretty much handled all the games that I like to play without issue. Now, you guys know I'm not a heavy game player, but in terms of games, I play some casual games. You can see right there, CSR Classics and Asphalt 8, and I added a new game to my repertoire, Asphalt Extreme, and I'm very happy to report that the Moto G5 Plus handled these games without issue. Now, there was some hiccups, but nothing that took away from the overall gameplay or overall user experience while playing the games with this device. So the overall gaming on this device is actually really, really good. So you're not going to have any issues. If you're a casual gamer like myself, you shouldn't have any issues. Alright, next, let's talk about the benchmarks on this guy. Now, in terms of benchmarks, it pretty much scored what you expected. But keep in mind, guys, the benchmarks themselves are just numbers. What really matters at the end of the day is an overall combination of hardware and software that equates to an overall smooth and fast user experience. And I'm very happy to report that, putting the benchmarks aside, the Moto G5 Plus does that without issue. Overall, again, it's been a very fluid and fast and enjoyable user experience on a day-to-day, and I've had no issues with it. Now, y'all already know I like to include the benchmarks because I just like to see the raw performance numbers, and I know some of you guys out there like to do that as well. So jumping into the benchmarks, you can see the first one we have here is the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited test, and it scored a 9,417. So, not the best, but it is what it is. And then right here, this is the Antutu benchmark, and you can see it scored a, oh, I think I put that in the wrong place. Or did I click on the wrong one? Yes, I did. Sorry, guys. Clicked on the wrong set of benchmarks here. Alright, here we go. This is about right. There we go. Alright, sorry, guys. Sorry. So, in terms of N22, it scored a 57,475. In terms of the Geekbench 4, it scored a 793 on the single core and a 3,882 on the multi-core. Now that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, in terms of the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited test, it scored a 13,258, and that's not bad. In terms of the Quadrant Standard, it scored an 18,815. And then in the Disco Mark multitasking benchmark test, and this is where I load up all of the apps that I use on a daily basis, and it runs through it and spits out an average. It did really, really well, guys. Now, and when I say all the apps I use on a daily basis, I mean all of them. And this is just a screenshot. It doesn't have all of them, but it did really, really good. And you can see it got through all of the apps with an average time of 6.6 seconds. So that is really good for this test. If I was to compare that to something, the Moto X Pure Edition with the 3 gigs of RAM pretty much does this at an average of about 35 seconds. So that was really good to see, and that was really an eye-opener when I was running this test. Because usually when I run this test on devices, I gotta set it up, click run, and then I'm putting the device down because it's going to take a while to cycle through it. And so when I set it up on this guy and push run, and all of a sudden to see that it popped up so fast a little while later, I was like, really? It's done? Really? I was sitting there with the double take face, like, wow, that was good. So that's really good in terms of the Disco Mark benchmark there. And again, we talked about the GPS. The GPS on here is, again, actually really, really good. So that's the benchmarks for you guys. And again, in terms of benchmarks, guys, I would say don't worry. Now, because again, the only thing that matters is an overall smooth and fast user experience. And again, that's something this device does, no problems. No problems whatsoever. Now next, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the battery life in this guy. And again, this was another eye-opener, guys. Again, keep in mind the battery that this guy has in it and the display. Again, let me reiterate. This has a 5.2-inch 1080p display and a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. And now, before I talk about the battery results, I had really, really high expectations for this phone because everywhere you go, you're like, oh, that Snapdragon 625, that's a battery beast. A lot of the articles you read, oh yeah, that's really power efficient. You know, some of the videos that I watched, everybody was quoting that, wow, it has really great battery life. And, you know, some of the battery numbers that they were posting were outrageous. And so I was like, okay, when you bring a device in, you kind of got to put all that to the side and judge it for yourself. And I'm very happy to report, guys, that the battery on the Moto G5 Plus is a beast. Now, y'all already know I got my 3 scenarios. I got my light, my heavy, and my medium usage. Pretty much, regardless of what you do, guys, I'm gonna show y'all the screenshots. But pretty much, regardless of what you do, you're gonna easily be able to make it through the day. And if you're a heavy user like myself, you're gonna be able to do that and still get some remarkable numbers. So I consistently was able to get 9.5 to 10 hours of screen on time with some really, really heavy usage there, guys. You can see screen was on 38% of the time. It's pushing it, YouTube videos, Bluetooth, music, phone calls. taking camera samples. I was pushing it hard. Because I had some really high expectations for the battery on this phone. And this one came through like a champ. So, there you go. Some more heavy usage for you guys. Again, easily getting over 10 hours. And you can see, I was pushing it. 12 hours of overall usage. You know, screen was on 47% of the time. 10 hours of screen on time. And then when I started to dial back some, this was another heavy usage day. Not as heavy as the others. Still got 9 hours and 35 minutes of screen on time. Then I really started to dial back, you know. And, you know, easily able to get through the day. You can see, got a day and 3 hours there. Still able to pull down about 6 hours of screen on time. And pretty much, this is what happened consistently. So, got a day and a half there. Day and 5 hours. 6 hours of screen on time. 6 hours, 20 minutes. Yeah. So, regardless of what style of user you are, you're going to easily be able to make it through the day. And if you're a light to medium user, you're going to make it through the day and then have battery to spare. If you're a heavy user, you're going to easily make it through a nice 12-hour day, and you're going to be using this guy like a champ, and you shouldn't have any problems. So, again, man, that battery life was really good. I was really surprised. And really, now let's talk about the overall charge time. So we talk about the overall battery life. Let's talk about the overall charge times. And this is where this phone left a little bit to be desired. Now, I've had my Moto X Pure Edition for a long time. And when I say that the Moto X Pure Edition can go from 0 to 100 real quick, in about 45 minutes to an hour, real quick, you know what I'm saying? It really does that. And again, I had really high expectations for the charging times of this phone, and let me just show y'all, this phone didn't do so well when it came to the charge times. Now, it was still good, don't get me wrong, it was still good, but it was not as good as the Moto X Pure Edition. And on average, I'm going to let the numbers speak for itself, because, you know, on average, I try to charge when it gets around the 9% and charge it back to 100. And on average, pretty much it did that in about an hour and 50 minutes to about an hour and 55 minutes, depending on how low the charge was. So you can see right there, one particular day, I ran it down to 1%. And, you know, it did its thing. You can see I got some pretty good screen on times. And it still took an hour and about 55 minutes to get back to full charge. And this was pretty consistent. You can see that particular day I didn't have it on the charger the whole time. You know. But right there, you know, 10%. Still took about an hour and some change. So pretty much, I was a little bummed out to see that. Because, you know, I had some really high expectations. But an hour and 45 minutes to an hour and 55 minutes, that's not bad. And on some days when I couldn't even do that, when I had to throw I was using the device, I went to bed, I woke up, the device was almost dead. I had about 30 minutes before I had to be where I was supposed to be. I throw this on the charger for about 30 minutes. I get to about 45-50% charge, and I'm very happy to report that charge easily took me through the day. You know what I'm saying? And I was astonished. I was astonished. Like one day in particular, I threw it on the charger for about 45 minutes. I usually get ready in about 30 minutes if I have everything laid out from the night before. If I don't, it's going to take me about 45 minutes to an hour. So one day, I forgot to throw it on the charger at night. Got up in the morning, only had 30 minutes. got it to about 50% charge, went through my day. Now y'all already know the radio in my car doesn't work, so I have Bluetooth speakers in my car. And y'all know I'm very GPS heavy. So I went through my day, did what I had to do, hit up the gym, had the GPS going, had the Bluetooth going, was taking phone calls when I wasn't driving, of course, because I hate that. I don't like when people take phone calls while they drive. Should never do that. Drive safe, people. Taking phone calls, doing all that, GPS navigation, Bluetooth, and this happened a couple days straight. I got home about 8 o'clock-ish, 9 o'clock-ish. Still had about 35%, 35%. Still averaging about 5.5, 6 hours on those days. And I did not, again, get a full charge. So that was crazy. It was crazy. So the overall battery life on this phone is really good, although the overall charge times leave something to be desired. But it is what it is. Can't get it all. I'm beginning to realize that you can't get it all. You can try, but people out here to make money, so they're not going to give you everything that you want. But it is what it is. Now, moving on to the final part of the video. And this is where we talk about the price, and I give you guys my final thoughts or a recommendation or two. Now, in terms of pricing, I picked this guy up via Amazon, and this again is the Amazon Ads model. This is the 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of onboard storage model with Amazon Ads, guys. So you can see the ads, they're always there. You can swipe them away, but they come back something different every time. And I gotta tell you guys, the ads weren't as annoying as I thought they would be. So again, with Amazon Ads, the device itself was $185. Throw in the Dretal case, or Dretal case, that was $5. Throw in the Lightning Night screen protector, that was another $5. So $185 for the phone, $5 for the case, $5 for the screen protectors, so $195. Alright, I have a 64GB card in here. And this guy does support adaptable storage, so you can use your SD card as internal storage. I have a 64GB SD card, SanDisk SD card. That was $20. Alright? So, all in all, let's run it this way.